Good morning, girls. In the last class, we were discussing about the Constitution of India, about its meaning, the basic features, and also the role of the Constituent Assembly in framing the Constitution. So today we'll be continuing with the chapter. Drafting the Constitution. Now, a preliminary version. Every document will have a preliminary version or the first version. So, the preliminary version or the first version of any document is known as draft. And the process of making this draft is known as drafting. So, we'll be discussing about the drafting of the Constitution. A drafting committee under the chairmanship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was set up by the Constituent Assembly on August 29, 1947. So, the Constituent Assembly, it organized a drafting committee to draft the Constitution, and this drafting committee was headed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The drafting committee was entrusted with the task of drafting the Constitution. So, the drafting committee, it was given the responsibility of drafting or making the preliminary version of drafting the Constitution. The draft was ready by February 1948. So, the preliminary version of the Constitution was ready by February 1948. The draft underwent 3 readings which were completed on 26 November 1949. So, the preliminary version, that is the draft, it was ready by February 1948, and after that the Constitution went 3 readings, it went 3 revisions, and then the 3 readings were completed by 26 November 1949. It took 2 years, 11 months and 17 days for the Constituent Assembly to finally pass the Constitution. So, the Constituent Assembly, it took almost 2 years, 11 months and 17 days to pass this Constitution. At the time of its signing, the Constitution consisted of 395 articles and 8 schedules. So, when the Constitution was signed at the initial draft of the Constitution consisted of 395 articles and 8 schedules. But now it has changed, has undergone many changes, many amendments, and today we have about 448 articles and 12 schedules. The 395 has changed to 448 articles and 8 schedules has changed to 12 schedules. So, this is about the drafting of the Constitution. Now, we'll move on to adoption of our Constitution. Now, adoption means to take up and to use something. So, we learn about the adoption of our Constitution. The Constitution was adopted and passed by the Constituent Assembly on November 26, 1949. So, the Constitution was passed by the Constituent Assembly on November 26, 1949. The Constitution as a whole came into force with effect from January 26, 1950. So, the Constitution, it was adopted in November 26, 1949, and it came into effect from January 26, 1950. It is on this day India became a republic, and the day is celebrated every year as our Republic Day. So, January 26, 1950 was the day when India became a republic. Republic means a country where we have an elected government and elected representatives govern the country. So, it was on 26 January 1950 that India became a republic, and this day, that is January 26, is celebrated every year as a Republic Day. We celebrate Republic Day every year on January 26. With the coming into force of the Constitution, C. Rajagopalachari became the first Indian Governor General. So, when the Constitution came into effect, C. Rajagopalachari was the first Indian Governor General. he replaced Lord Mountbatten. So, before the constitution came into existence and before India became a republic, Lord Mountbatten was a Indian Governor General. And after the constitution came into force and after India became a republic, C. Rajagopalachari replaced Lord Mountbatten and became the Governor General. The Constituent Assembly became the provisional parliament until the new general elections were held in 1951-52. So, till the general elections in 1951-52, the Constituent Assembly was a provisional parliament or the temporary parliament. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was the president of the Constituent Assembly, became the first president of independent India. So, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, he was the president of the Constituent Assembly, and after the general elections, he became the first president of India, of independent India. The Preamble. The preamble is an introductory part of the constitution. So, the preamble is an introductory part of the constitution. Now, every book, every document will have an introductory part or a preface which describes about the purpose of that particular book or document. So, here in the constitution, the preamble is that introductory part which describes about the purpose of the constitution. The ideals of the constitution are embodied in the preamble. So, the ideals of the constitution, they are contained or they are described in this preamble. The preamble to the Constitution of India reflects the aims and objectives of the constitution. So, in the preamble, it describes the aims and objectives of having the constitution. The purpose of the constitution is described in the preamble. The preamble to the Constitution of India serves two purposes. So, there are two purposes to the preamble of the Constitution. We will see what are the two purposes. So, the first purpose is it indicates the source from which the Constitution derives its authority. So, the preamble, it shows who made the Constitution or from where the Constitution has obtained its authority or power. So, that is the first purpose of the preamble of our constitution. Now, the second purpose is it states the objects which the constitution seeks to establish and promote. Now, the preamble, it also shows the various objects or goals which the constitution needs to establish and promote. The various objects or goals which the constitution promotes and wants to establish and promotes is also described in the preamble of our constitution. So, this is about the preamble. Today we learnt about the preamble of our constitution, then about the drafting of our constitution and about the adoption of our constitution. So we'll stop for today, girls. Thank you.